Hey guys, I'm here with my friend Brock. Brock had a hair transplant about a year ago and is currently 20 years old. So we thought we'd talk about going bald at a young age and what that's like versus, having hair in your 20s versus not having hair in your 20s, what that consideration might be like. Because a lot of guys in our position, I went bald at a pretty similar age, are in this position of, okay, my 20s are like a really important dating time in my life, and I want to have hair, I want to look my best, but then should I get a hair transplant? Because I don't want to get one too early and make a bad decision in that way. So kind of thought we'd debate some of those ideas, and maybe this would be helpful for you. So what was your decision process like, Brock, in deciding, hey, I'm 19, but I'm going to go ahead and have a hair transplant? Because as you've done a lot of research, in some ways that can be a bit risky, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of doctors online that really just advise completely against that. I think the biggest thing for me was kind of like what David said about the 20s being like the prime of your dating life, essentially, and just a really important time in your life. And I was kind of in the mindset to where, when I'm in my 40s, I'll probably care, but not as much. So if I'm going bald then, it probably won't be that big of a deal. But right now, I'm 18 years old, and I'm feeling like I look like I'm 35 already. I want to look like I'm 40 when I am 40, not when I'm 18. So, it's just a real self-esteem thing. It's something you got to do for yourself. And what drove me, was just wanting to feel like my own age. I got a lot of old jokes, and I just looked in the mirror. I looked like I was just tired all the time, and I don't know, it's really hard to explain unless you're going through it yourself. I think that's the best way to explain it. But yeah, that was probably the biggest thing. I wanted to look my own age and feel like a 20-year-old, and live like a 20-year-old, not having to worry about this. And I didn't want to shave my head, it'd just be weird being 20 years old with a shaved head like Lex Luthor or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think you had to make some pretty difficult decisions that you're going to have to live with, which are, one, am I willing to use preventative treatments potentially for the rest of my life? Because when you start losing your hair at such a young age, you have to, whether you have hair transplants or not, use preventative treatments. Be on laser, be on finasteride or topical finasteride, be using a biotin supplement. I use sal palmetto. I take a lot of different things, and so it's not just I have a hair transplant and I'm done with it, and then that's it, and I'm good for the rest of my life. Unfortunately. But you also were in a good position. Not every guy has this donor hair. So Brock has very, I'm sorry, Brock, he's very thick, ropey, dark, he's amazing. If you see back here, he has amazing donor hair. I also have pretty good donor hair. I don't think quite as good as Brock, but his looks a little bit thicker than mine. But I also have very good donor hair. So both of us were in a pretty good position in that way. A lot of guys don't have good donor hair. They have very thin, fine, light-colored hair. One of my friends wrote me very disappointed in his hair transplant. He got one done in London. He's kind of in that position, that very Ivan Drago, but not even that thick kind of hair, and it didn't work out for him. So there's a lot of things that you sort of had to weigh in your mind, right?
Yeah.
So what were some of those things exactly besides that? And
yeah, just the preventative treatments, staying on those for life. Honestly, I didn't really find it be that big of a deal. I mean, the minoxidil, it's pretty simple. You put it on your head twice a day. It takes 10 minutes out of my day. The laser helmet, I use it every other day. It's 20 minutes. I just don't really, some people find it like an inconvenience, but I don't. I mean, I think it's worth it. I mean, preventative treatments have worked so well for me. They've held it on so strong. And I know a lot of celebrities use them too. It's not a bad thing to go out and use those guys. Countless celebrities do. I mean, Hollywood, they don't like to talk about all that stuff, but they do.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've been really consistent with that. I think that's one of the things that a lot of guys are not consistent with using their preventative treatment. So if they're using the laser helmet, they'll buy one and then use it once a week and then say that it doesn't work, And unless you're very consistent in that use, you're not going to get the results from any of this stuff, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's the snowball of all the things. I mean, get on all those things for a year and try to come and tell us that you don't see any kind of progress, you're going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
You know, it varies from person to person. You know, some people might not react as strongly as me and David did to the preventative treatments, but you will get something out of it. At the very least, at least expect to keep what you have.
And so how has that affected you emotionally now, having a really great looking head of hair? Like, how do you feel versus, you know, being a guy who was obviously going very bald, like at 18 years old?
I mean, I think my confidence is just kind of just went through the roof. Whenever I was losing my hair, I mean, it kind of reminded me of when I was sick. Honestly, I looked in the mirror every day and just, I don't know, I felt unhealthy, even though it's not unhealthy to lose your hair. I just felt something was off. And now that I have this full head of hair again, I feel, I don't know, I would say like more alive.
Okay,
in a way. Like, I don't know, I feel like I'm 20 years old. Before I felt like I was, you know, old and worn down at a young age.
Yeah. That's just
that
not
makes sense.
It's almost priceless. The feeling of
it
getting
really
that
is.
back.
Yeah.
I know, and Brock and I have talked about hair systems as well. I went yesterday and hung out with the guy who runs one of the biggest like hair system clinics in Houston, or I think it's like the biggest. And I saw his hair system and I thought it looked amazing. And he said like, this is part of me now, and like I feel amazing, you know. And I talked to a girl that was in the same position who she had cancer, and she used to wear a hat, and she just always felt like she was covering up who she was. And you go, well, she's wearing a hair system now, she's wearing a wig, like isn't she covering up who she is? But for some reason there's something different emotionally in like that look of hair and feeling like that's part of you, is that hair versus just putting a bandana on or a hat. I don't know, because I wore a hat for a long time. Like for 2 years, every single time I went out, every picture I was wearing a hat. You know, and I thought I was happy to a certain degree with that, but I really wasn't. You know, it was a certain amount of me like covering myself. You know,
and if you have like a decent amount of hair, you know, you could pile on the concealers. You know, like Dermatch, Topic. Those are all great. I use those to this day as well.
Yeah.
But I wanted just a little something more. You know, like what if I kind of thought to myself, like, what if I don't have to like pile on these every day and worry about it coming off when I'm swimming in the pool or taking a shower, you know, and getting my shower all brown from the Dermatch and having to, you know, spray this powder on my head every day, you know. Even with that, I mean, I still wanted that fuller head of hair. So that's kind of what pushed me over the edge, you know. I mean that's just might as well just go through with it.
I think a lot of it is that like emotional place that you can get yourself to. So for me, like with Dermatch, which I've talked about in a lot of my videos, I use Dermatch probably really only about once every 2 weeks. I use Topic or some kind of powder. I think Go Fiber is the stuff that I currently have. I usually use about once a week. I usually don't go out with this stuff. The reason being that my hair already looks good. Like no one is going to see me and think that I'm going bald. They're gonna, but they would say like maybe his hair's a little bit thin if they really think about it, you know. But I'll use the powder if like I'm gonna go out and I'm with friends and I really like want to look a little bit, just a little extra better, just like you would put a little extra care doing your hair with some gel. It's kind of like the same
thing,
the icing,
you know? On the cake.
Like
it's
the
like
icing on the cake. Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. But like getting comfortable with that situation, I think, is a lot of the mental stuff of going through that. So what about using concealers? I mean, how does that make you feel? Like if you're going on a date or something like that and you have concealer, are you worried or anything like that?
I mean, when I was using it like before I had my hair transplant, I'm just thinking to myself like, man, like deep down I was like, man, I'm like kind of in a way like wearing like makeup, I'm covering something up. And now that I have had this procedure done, you know, I don't have to wear it at all. When I don't wear it, I feel so like free in a way, you know, like I have this great head of hair, I don't have to cover anything up, and I still throw it in every now and then, like I said, like David said, you know, just a little bit something extra, but I don't have to rely on it, and that's so nice. Just
I think that's
wake up and throw a little bit of gel in there, and then call it a day and go out and see the world.
Part of the of that, I think that's a great point, is that when you don't have to rely on Dermatch or on like the Topics or whatever, and your hair's already going to look fine without it, but then you can just use it to just make yourself look that much better. It's kind of like if you're a beautiful girl and you already have a great face, but you put eyeliner on. It's like you don't need eyeliner to like go out, but it's like your eyes are going to pop if you put eyeliner on, so why not, you know? So, well, cool. I hope this helps you guys out. This is a lot of the deep emotional stuff that we've both gone through, going through the hair transplant and hair loss process. So, hope you guys get something out of this.
Yeah, and if you guys are going through the same thing, feel free to reach out to Steve. I mean, that's the go-to guy. He can even give you my phone number too if you're a younger guy and want to talk about it.
That's very cool.
We get into it. So, I mean, don't be afraid to take action.
Yeah,
I have to say.
Our friend Steve Cook was my consultant and Brock's, and it's been super helpful for both of us, like life-changing. So I put his phone number in the video description of every single video that I make, so feel free to reach out to him.